Morning.
Good morning.
A little bit more enthusiasm, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
First thing that I need to address with you guys is this line you can see in the grass. Now, everyone is just about perfect, but from that edge of that masonry here, running down to the King's Yard and Syme to our east, at no time could you please pass over onto this side of the white line. With that being said, could you please get up right to it? Take your ease in the grass if you want. We're going to be talking about the service of Brunswick soldiers here at this fort in 1777. How did troops from the Duchy of Brunswick in the center of the Holy Roman Empire end up here at this fort in the center of British-held Adirondacks? We're going to be talking just about that. And it begins, by and large, with the British public's distrust of a standing army that could lead to military despotism, which means in turn that when the American Rebellion breaks out, there's the need for thousands more soldiers. The call goes out, and one of the German princes to respond to that request for troops is going to be Duke Karl I of Brunswick. He will ultimately supply 6,000 men in total, joining one of 6 German states to supply almost 20,000 soldiers to help put down the American Rebellion. Now, in turn, those men are going to march from the center of Brunswick. They're going to go to the northern port of Stade, and in turn, they're going to sail across the Atlantic, arriving in Quebec City in the spring of 1776. They're going to come down this system of lakes, eventually with John Burgoyne's army, and German troops are going to form half of that ostensibly British force. The bulk of the army, and half of it, are these troops from Brunswick. And in turn, the force flag to be raised over this fort, historically speaking, during that capture in summer of 1777, is going to be the Liebfahne of Captain Julius Pretorius' Prince Friedrich Regiment. Now, in turn, just to explain our appearance, these uniforms are going to be following the Prussian military model, which is to say a blue infantryman's coat. To break it down to that Prince Friedrich Regiment, well, we have yellow collars and cuffs, and then the Reichspitz, or cocked hat here, has a distinct pushel. So with the combination of our pom-poms, our cuffs and collar, and other detailed insignia that you're welcome to check out after, this is showing who we are as soldiers. Now, in turn, the muskets that we carry are largely based on those made near Spandau or Potsdam, or these British supplied arms as well. Now, whatever they're coming from, they all feature 3 distinct parts as muzzle-loading smoothbore flintlock pieces. You have the Lauf, or the barrel. That's an iron tube which is going to hold all of the explosive power of the projectile. That's going to be where we charge the gun. Then you have the stock itself, which is going to secure all the furniture and give us something to hold on to. But then the final piece, and the most detailed, which we have to show you in turn, is the Schloss, or the lock. This is the mechanism which allows us to fire this. This is modern technology. Because this lock has, first of all, a Hand, which is a pen. It has a vise, basically, which is going to clamp in the jaws of it, flint. Now, in turn, this flint has 2 great properties. It's very hard, and it can be knapped to form a blade-like edge, which is to say, when you strike that against steel, you get sparks. So this is a reliable way to create ignition. In turn, we do have steel in front of this. We have the batterie, which is going to be this piece of iron on a spring of its own, faced with steel. But once we shut that pan, once we pull the Hand to full cock, we're now engaging a mainspring on a tumbler protected inside the weapon. So all of that bound-up energy in that spring is going to be resting on the Abzug, the trigger right here, which is going to be protected from going off half-cocked by this trigger guard. But once we pull that trigger, the flint is going to fly forward, scrape down the steel, and create a shower of sparks. And those sparks are going to travel through the vent hole on the side of the weapon, which is going to conduct that very small explosion created when we want to by that mechanism, in turn into the main charge. Now, in civilian life, if you were a gamekeeper on a German estate or a gentleman sport shooting here, you can load individual pieces separately. You can do them piece by piece with the ball, the powder, and you can do all that piece by piece because nobody is shooting back. By the 1770s, really every military in the world is going to be using, in this case, a Honentasche, which is going to have a large leather pouch, which inside is going to hold patronen. These paper tubes are everything wrapped up, ready to go, pre-measured, remade, so simply all we have to do is load. At the base, you theoretically have a musket ball fitted to the caliber of your gun, and then you have all that pre-measured powder up top. You guys are amped up on war moves, I'm sure, getting excited for Brown's raid today. What is the first step that I need to undertake to load this piece? What do I do? I have to tear it open. I have to rip open this cartridge, exposing the powder, pre-measured again, so that I can prime the piece, and then I can cast the weapon about and load it. Now, in turn, well-trained infantryman, no matter of the army, but especially in Brunswick, is going to be expected to do that in 10 to 15 seconds. That's one infantryman. But is one infantryman all that imposing? No, not at all. I mean, you guys are formed along a line, but 18th century militaries across the board are going to use a more disciplined system. They're going to form into bodies of men. In this case, we're going to form a rank. And in turn, that's going to allow us to maintain our muzzle control. Because if we were just to scatter through a tree line and suddenly start blazing away, we have issues with our own safety, not doing as much damage to the enemy. Now that we are next to each other, obviously each movement matters. And the fact that I can't just bump around, drop my hat, all of that starts to add up in terms of muzzle safety. And again, effectiveness against the enemy. So in turn, we're going to be following a manual exercise. In this case, one regulated by the Duke in 1770, allowing us to work as a team. We're going to show you that step by step to, again, process how these guns are used and also to talk about the training that makes up that military profession. The first command is simply,
Das Gewehr hoch! 1, 2. Das Gewehr flach!
So again, the weapon has been brought in front of the body, and then it has been brought down vertically at the hip so that we can in turn start to load the piece.
Öffnet die Fahne!
Opened our
Fasset die Patrone!
We're slapping our pouch and withdrawing a cartridge. Now we need to
Öffnet
open
die
again.
Patrone!
We're going to plate it up, exposing that.
Pulver in die Fahne!
Now we're going to pour our priming charge into the gun.
Schließt die Fahne!
Shut the pan so that it's secure, so the ammunition isn't going anywhere.
Links schwenkt das Gewehr zur Ladung.
Now we're swiveling to the front so that we can bring the gun in front of us so that we may
Patronen im Lauf.
charge with cartridge, bringing this down into the muzzle, inserting the powder in the ball within a wadding created by the paper, which is going to increase the accuracy of this smoothbore weapon.
Ladestock!
We're going to pull out our loadstock or rammer, shorten it, and then bring it to the barrel so we can
Ladestock im Lauf.
put the loadstock into the barrel and ram down the charge so it's seated at the breech and we can have the most velocity for this weapon.
Ladestock an seinen Ort.
Now we need to return that so that as a single-shot weapon we can continue to reload or ultimately clean the weapon. So we bring up the gun to the shoulder so we may.
Das Gewehr auf die Schulter.
And then we need to go through the firing sequence because we've loaded step by step, again giving us that muscle memory with that on the spine, counting out the movement. And then in turn we need to bring it in front of the body.
Das Gewehr hoch.
1, 2.
Spannet den Hahn.
1, 2. And we all cock the piece so that mainspring is engaged. Simply put, all we need to do is.
Schlag an.
And now we're taking sight. You should take note that we are actually aiming at specific targets. And to motivate this, General von Riedesel, commanding the whole German Corps, actually held marksmanship competitions in Canada with prizes for the best shot. Taking sight from the end of the barrel so we may.
Feuer!
Our muskets going off, coming down to the hip so that we may.
Pfannendeckel ab und geladen.
But now that training is over, theoretically, these men can go through the loading step on their own speed with the simple command to.
Pfannendeckel ab und geladen.
This regiment specifically seems to have been somewhat problematic. When reviewed by their general as part of the German detachment, the officer wrote a blistering letter saying that men's hats had fallen off, that they were fumbling with their weapons, and it had taken them 30 seconds to fire a single shot. Now, in turn, that just simply meant more training, so that these men could work as a team. And they may not have continued south with the main army as this fort was captured, but in turn they were left behind to guard this critical depot.
Das Gewehr auf die Schulter. Das Gewehr hoch.
2,
Spannet den Hahn.
2,
Schlag an. Feuer! Hand in die Ruhe. Schließt die Fahne. Gewehr auf die Schulter.
So the reason that we're talking about this weekend is not only because Brunswick troops made up half of this army, but really because they're an important story for us in studying American history. Far from mercenaries, these men were far more professional soldiers sent by their duke in the service of a foreign king. This is completely natural in 18th century terms in an era where nationalism as a whole was far more flexible, and the political alliance sustaining Europe connected both this duchy and others in Germany with the British service. The only thing that made this remarkable was these men were actually serving thousands of miles away from the continent, in this case in America, and in turn fighting a rebellion by British subjects. But in turn, these men, at least in certain instances, would adapt this baseline of professionalism to fight in the woods, initiating the same bush fighting that they had experienced in Germany, and again, moving on to different variations like this that you may see later in our demonstration at 1:15. With that said, now that we can clear our pieces, there are a few other things for you to check out. At 11:30, you can meet a garden interpreter who's going to march you down to the King's Guard. If you're interested in environmental history, the landscape down there, any feature of that, please do check it out. At 11:30 again, you can meet a collections member of staff in the courtyard and check out some of the original Brunswick weapons among other pieces in our collection, such as 53rd muskets that were captured at this very engagement we're recreating this weekend. And in turn, if you're interested in hearing more specifically about the unique nature of Brunswick's servants, you can in turn meet our curator in the Mars Education Center as he gives a talk about that one group of soldiers. Now, fundamentally, the biggest thing that we can say is thank you, because in coming out on a day like today, we are able to preserve this history, portray unique members of troops who passed through this landscape, talk about what they were doing, change every year, and allow this to pass forward to posterity. So thank you very much.